You know, it wasn't my transmission that went out. It was my wife's. Live from the RamCave, I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView, the July 7th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right, things are coming in here, back on the air. My intention was to do a broadcast from camp. Had a transmission issue with my wife's car. I left a day and a half late. Had to play catch up the whole time I'm there. Yada, yada, yada. I got 1,000 excuses, and like everybody else has one too. They're like elbows. Everybody's got two, right? So here we go. Not much going on, but let's just hit a bunch of stuff. There's some around the NFL and other places, some little bit of basketball to touch on. Rams and Jalen Ramsey, Rams and TJ Watt, Rams and Mike Florio, and then a little bit of Rams history that involves Harold Jackson and John Zuck. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so let's get this out of the way real quick. I really didn't get a chance. Not getting Jalen Ramsey. I'm more than okay with that. Steelers got Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a little pick swap there. Dolphins got Mika Fitzpatrick and maybe a fifth rounder. I'm glad. I mean, they gave Jalen Ramsey a 7-rock raise. I don't need that. I don't need a 7-rock raise, right? I don't want him coming in for a 7-rock raise. And they're talking about they're trading a safety for a corner. I really don't think of Jalen Ramsey as a full-blown corner anymore. I mean, maybe that's the position he played in Miami, but if he came to the Rams, I didn't see him as that. I see him as more of a utility piece to move around the secondary, playing that star position. So yeah, I'm all good. Great. I'm glad he didn't go. I don't think it's a great trade for the Steelers. I don't think it's a bad trade for the Steelers. Can they get Jonnu Smith to have the year that he had last year in Steelerville? And that's the whole thing, right? That's the whole thing. That means Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. And I know it's taboo because a Steeler fan, Rob, our offensive line is great. Well, we got to find out right now. Broderick Jones is moving from right tackle to left tackle. Troy Fontenot is coming back. And it all could be well. It all could be great. More power to the Steelers, right? I'm not a Ravens fan necessarily. I'm not a Bengals fan necessarily. More power to the Steelers. But, I don't know. To me, it just feels like, here, you take this and I'll take that. But I'm going to pay 7 more rocks to Jalen Ramsey, and that didn't sit well with me. So, again, more stuff out there. Who are the Rams going to get? Because they got to get somebody because it's the end of the world, right? These lazy KBM writers out there still talking about this Rams secondary, and they haven't seemed to make up their mind, is they applaud the Rams front office. They applaud Les Snead. They applaud Sean McVay repeatedly over and over again. And then Sean McVay and Les Snead didn't make a move in the draft. They didn't make a move in the free agency period. And it's like, what do they think? That the Rams are not addressing the issue because they just don't know how to address it? Or maybe there's an in-house solution that is already there, and it's in the aggregate, it's in the amalgam, it's in the coming together as opposed to that one guy standing out. And so, they just don't get it. So I was looking at the list of defensive backs that are still out there. Asante Samuel Jr., 25. I am surprised. I thought he would still be out. He would gotten a job by now. Stephon Gilmore, 34, going on 35. Rasul Douglas going on 31. These guys all put Trey White vibes out on me. And Mike Hilton, he's 31, former Bengal. And then the safeties, because they're talking about how the Rams aren't deep at safety. Hey, one of the underlooked stories in the secondary last year was Cam Curl. After a few weeks of getting his feet wet, Cam Curl played very well down the stretch. Cam Kitchens played better down the stretch. Jalen McCullough was a big surprise as a UDFA, right? And then, of course, Quentin Lake, who we all are hoping gets a second contract. But, you got Justin Simmons out there as a safety free agent. You got Julian Blackmon out there. Not bad guys, but I think the Rams are going to roll with what they're going to roll with. And they would have been happy to bring back Jalen Ramsey. But it was a case of, yeah, he'd be a nice luxury, a nice piece. But we're not going in debt over Jalen Ramsey, either cap-wise or run a deficit in draft capital to get this done. So throwing that out there, let's see. I actually got a few viewers. You guys are patient with me. ESG, Steelers gave away too much for Jalen Ramsey. I tend to think so. I'm just curious what they're going to get out of Jonnu Smith, right? I'm just curious. I just wouldn't have traded for Jalen Ramsey and give him a raise like that. They gave him a significant raise, and you got the TJ Watt thing. So it's like they just keep putting all that money on the defense. Steve Ramirez, would you trade for Watt? And if so, what would your deal look like? Well, Mr. Ramirez, actually, my next point that I was going to bring up is exactly going to be talking about TJ Watt. Let's finish with Bill here. We didn't need that Ramsey salary on our cap. Let's get Asante Samuel Jr. I don't want to run ahead of myself here, but Bill, don't you know that everybody in the KBM right now says Emmanuel Forbes is great and that they've all been talking about him all off season? So why would we have to go get Asante Samuel? I'm being snarky there. All right, Mr. Ramirez, to answer your question, I don't want anything to do with TJ Watt. Nothing. I'm not saying he's not a great player. I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying anything. And it really got weird because I don't know if I was still at camp or what. Was I on my way to camp? And it comes across that they reached an agreement. I thought the agreement was reached, right? And then I heard that Omar Khan got extended, and that seems to be finalized. But apparently there is a hang-up that they haven't finalized things with TJ Watt. And it's hung up around length of contract and amount guaranteed. Always the bugaboos with a big fat contract. Now, I haven't heard any of the details, but Myles Garrett is getting 40 rocks and Watt is expected to make more than 40 rocks. That's just insane. On top of that, you just gave Jalen Ramsey a $7 million raise to an insane number. And so, yeah, I just wouldn't do it. I think we're going to come to find out, like we are with receivers, that you can find another edge guy, right? There are a bunch of edge guys. Have you noticed there's a bunch of edge guys out there? All right. You can maybe not find another great running back, but boy, you can win 2 Super Bowls with a 7th round pick named Isaiah Pacheco, right? You can be a Super Bowl contender with a 5th rounder like Kyron Williams, right? Nothing against Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, those guys. Those guys are elite, but you can fill in the spaces without those guys. And the same thing, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Watt's been in 4 playoff games, no win, 1 sack, and he's turning 31. Myles Garrett's been in 3 playoff games, 1 sack, 1 win, and he's turning 30 late in this December. Jared Verse, 1 season, 2 playoff games, 1 win, 2 sacks, turning 25. What's the key to that? Because the Rams aren't paying big money to those defensive players. I mean, no, just don't do it, right? You just don't do it. And yeah, it's going to be painful when contracts come up and you're not going to want to give too much. Jared Verse will probably be, we'd like to think, an Aaron Donald type guy where he is the star of the defense and you give it to him like you did Aaron Donald, but multiple guys. I get giving TJ Watt his money. I just wouldn't have given Jalen Ramsey any more money, right? I just wouldn't. Whatever. It's all good. But Pasadena on all that, I just wouldn't want TJ Watt. Not at this point. I don't think the Rams need him. I just don't. And if I was going to make a deal for him or someone like him, I would see how the season's progressing up to the trading deadline and see if somebody's ready to just move off of someone. Rams got 2 number 1 picks next year. They've also got Josiah Stewart, who a lot of people are high on, Brennan Carnage Jackson, who a lot of people are high on, and Nick Hampton, who's hanging around. So I think there are some bodies there that can fill the Michael Hoyt role, right? So no, definitely not into the TJ Watt move here. Around the NFL and other places, speaking of other places, Viva Mexico. So happy with Mexico's soccer victory over the United States in the Gold Cup. Every time the United States men's soccer team loses, it's good for America. It's good. We don't need communist kickball to be a dominant sport here. You can play it, but I don't want anyone looking to the U.S. And soccer. I find it's egregious as Americans to look at soccer. So that's just my story. There you go. I'm throwing that out there. Dolphins bring Darren Waller out of retirement. Now, we could pick on the Steelers, and I don't know if you can or what you can do with the Steelers right now, but you know what? You could pick on the Dolphins, right? What are they doing? They haven't even – you talk about a team that didn't replace its left tackle. Darren Waller, who was a great tight end 4 years ago, right? I think he had 1 season with the Giants and then retired, and he couldn't stay healthy at the end with the Raiders. Great bounce back story, great life story. But, it's like that's the move. If you're a Dolphin fan, I don't get it. Mike Florio, I saw several links, and I actually read a brief piece on it. Mike Florio says the 49ers are contenders for a Super Bowl win. I don't get it, right? Of course, yes, we all say this, injuries and everything. What if there are no injuries to the 49ers? I think even at their best, again, okay, let's just say Christian McCaffrey runs like it's 2022 or 2023. All right, let's say Trent Williams turns back the clock. Let's say, Barch and Puny and McKivitz and Brendel all play well along the offensive line. All right, let's say Robert Saleh develops new heroes and new stars. I still think they would struggle against a team like Philadelphia. I still think they're going to struggle against the Rams. I still think they're going to struggle. Can they beat the Rams? Oh, yeah. I can see the Rams losing two NFC West games this year. I can see them being 4-2 in the West. It's possible. But I just don't get declaring them Super Bowl contenders, right? I don't like their receiving room right now. I don't like their safeties. I don't like their offensive line. I don't like their age. And I'm not thrilled with Bosa. I mean, all right, I guess, but interesting that someone would go there. Let's see what else we got here as the things pick up. Be sure to drop your questions in, guys. You see, I'm rocking my Outsiders jersey. I'm getting ready for kids camp at the end of, in 2 weeks, I'm actually going to be at kids camp. I'm one of the producers for the Outsiders camps. We take kids to a campground. We're going to Arroyo Grande. We appreciate your prayers and support. All right, number 7. Wouldn't it be marvelous to see LeBron James traded? Right? I left the NBA so long. I'm just there now. I'm not even a Laker fan anymore, but if you were with me in the 80s, you'd find I was just as diehard Laker as I was Rams. Football stayed the same. In fact, football got better. Football got more nuanced. Understanding of football became better. I played high school basketball. I coached basketball. I know basketball. And what's been played in the NBA the last 25 years is nothing near the proximity of basketball. It's a disaster. And fundamentally, it's all bad. It's everything. We celebrate athletes and not basketball players. And so I kind of gave up on basketball a long time ago. You see a few teams play. Warriors are a fun watch. They absolutely are. The Pacers this year were a fun watch. OKC is a pretty fun watch. So it wasn't horrible basketball. And so you get into it and you look at the Lakers, who have been held hostage by so long. And I would even say this. They even allowed themselves to be held hostage just a little too long with Kobe. They extended him when they shouldn't have. And I know that's heresy. But yeah. And then they went into enslavement to LeBron James. And I don't know. I'm kind of really interested in the Lakers all of a sudden at the idea that this ownership group from the Dodgers, Walters Group, can come in and they could just say, you know what, we're done with LeBron. Let's send him to the East. Let's send him someplace and just start this whole project new. And you just get the feeling after watching them what they've done with the Dodgers. And I hate the Dodgers. The Dodgers are the best run baseball team on the planet. And I got a feeling that once this ownership group gets going, it's going to be a great it's going to be a great run for the Lakers. And I'm kind of anxious to see it play out. I'm actually thinking of doing a little more basketball stuff this offseason. All right, let's see. ESG, yes, I don't think the new ownership is going to play the LeBron game. No, I don't think so either. Absolutely, ESG. I don't think they are. I don't think they're going to dance. They don't have to, right? They don't have to. It'd be curious to see how it's all handled with Bronny afterwards, right? Does JJ Redick, who impressed everybody as a head coach, but I always looked at him as a LeBron sycophant. Is he okay with LeBron leaving? Is he going to do a favor and try to keep Bronny around as a favor to LeBron? Does Bronny get packaged in a deal with LeBron? I think the loser in all this is Bronny. Bronny should have just told his dad, I can't be drafted by the team you're at. I just can't. It's embarrassing. It's just awful. So Steve Ramirez, my favorite basketball team now is UCLA women's team. Okay. All right. I'm a little bit into that USC chick. Is it Juju Watkins? Is that her name? The one that blew out her knee? That'll be fun to watch. Always Cheryl Miller guy myself. All right. I'm Joe Chirozzi, a sports writer for 21 years. Now I'm contributing to Mid-Valley Sports. I was one of the guys that helped found the place, left. It's run by Tim Peterson and Dwayne Barker there. Those guys cover the Chargers, and I provide a little bit of content there. And I cover the Rams, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. And we can't say thank you enough. Kistler Law, let me tell you about Kistler Law. Not only are they great, and great before you would even know their business, but Kistler Law is one of our sponsors for Outsiders Camps, that they're actually giving to Outsiders Camps to help us get kids to camp and run our various ministries in serving these churches that many don't have full-time leaders and everything, getting them to camp and changing experiences. So any chance you get, support Kistler Law. And they're great if you got an auto issue, especially out here in California. Quick thing came up here. I'm not going to answer that right now. But one thing real quick, just be sure to continue to buy my books. My books are on Amazon. Every time you buy one, you help us stay on the air, helps me my day job. Just type in Joe Chirozzi and you'll see all my books. I got 3 football books there, including one about the Rams in an NFC championship game. And we're working on getting those things eventually all on audio. I pastor a small church in Burbank. That's why I do this. That's why I do my little commercial here. We do not have a Patreon account. We do not have a paywall. And so I do this just to keep my head above water. I pastor a very small church in Burbank. And you can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, Burbank Faith Virtual, all across social media. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask. All right. Let's keep running here. Be sure to check us out on iHeart and Spotify tomorrow morning, where we'll post the audio version of this show here. All right, let's keep on rolling. Let's see. Oh, Lakers did sign DeAndre Ayton, the former first-round overall pick of the Suns a few years ago. He went to Portland, and he's got all this physical ability, but I heard he's a bit of a douche, right? He's a bit of a douche, and I don't know what that means. I know the Lakers were desperate for a big man, and they brought him in, and he just doesn't play nice with others, right? The guy that I never want to be around, the guy that's perpetually sitting on attack, right? Just never. I don't want to be around that guy. I find them extremely, extremely boring. Okay, question came in. Opinion about Nick Herbig of the Steelers coming out. Knew that one was coming. I didn't want to talk about that one. I'll give you my opinion, but let's wait till the end of the show. Let's get through some more Rams stuff and Rams history, and then we'll get to that. But what did I think about Nick Herbig coming out of the? I think I'm being set up here. All right. I don't know if you've been notified, but have you noticed that Rams content people suddenly have always been Emmanuel Forbes fans, right? I know a few of you have let me know. I know Steve sent me something. They're all laughing that everyone's been an Emmanuel Forbes fan all off season, right? And yet, same content guys keep talking about Rams need a cornerback, but they're praising Emmanuel Forbes, saying, yeah, we knew this was someone we had to keep an eye on. And not that I'm bitter or anything, not that I'm like upset, not that I'm spiteful or anything. All right, let's look at this day in Rams history because it's kind of significant here. July the 7th, 1969. The Rams trade Harold Jackson, a 12th round pick out of Jackson State, 1968, 323 overall. They trade him and defensive end John Zook, who was taken in the 4th round, 99th overall in the 1969 draft out of Kansas. They sent Harold Jackson and John Zook to Philly for Izzy Lang. This was a George Allen deal. Allen never liked Harold Jackson. Lang was 27 at the time, got 1 carry for 1 yard with the Rams in 69. Prior to that, he had 3 solid seasons in Philly before coming to the Rams. But the Rams gave up on Jackson, and in 69, he caught 65 passes for 1,116 yards and 9 touchdowns. I believe that was from Norm Snead for Philly. Zook was sent to Atlanta, but was sent to Philly and got circuited to Atlanta, where in his first 3 years, he registered 29.5 sacks, made a Pro Bowl, intercepted 3 passes, and made a Pro Bowl appearance in 73. All in all, Zook played 11 seasons in the NFL, registered 78 sacks, of course, unofficially. Fortunately, he passed away in June of 2020 of cancer at the age of 72. But he was a pretty good player for those Van Brocklin Falcon teams. Claude Humphrey, Tommy Novus, pretty good defense. Little ahead of the Grits Blitz schedule there. He got traded to the Cardinals later on, and I think I'm not sure who he was traded for. I'll look that up. But he got traded, spent another 4 years with the Cardinals after 7 with the Falcons, played 11 seasons, had a really nice career, except you think about with the Rams, Coy Bacon, Deacon Jones, later Jack Youngblood, later Fred Dreyer. Poor guy was never going to see the field. That's how deep it was. Interesting thing about that 1969 draft is the Rams had 3 number 1s. Number 8, Larry Smith, fullback out of Florida. Number 10 overall, Jim Seymour, wide receiver, Notre Dame. And number 21 overall, Bob Klein, USC, tight end. And out of all those guys, Larry Smith, Jim Seymour, Bob Klein, the player who had the best career, John Zook, taken in the 4th round at number 99 overall. I know Klein was a starter for a number of years with the Rams, but when you really look at it, he was just a tight end adjacent, right? He was just an extra tackle out there. Jim Seymour had bad knees, never really made it with anybody in the league. I think got traded to the Bears. Larry Smith played for the Rams. He had a few moments. He was a George Allen favorite. He had a couple of moments here and there. He could catch the ball, caught 46 passes his rookie year. He wasn't great. By 72, it was Jim Bertelsen and Willie Ellison. By 73, it was Bertelsen and McCutcheon. And Smith started 2 games. McCutcheon went out with a hamstring injury. Then he was traded that offseason after 73 to the Washington Redskins, of course, reuniting with George Allen. And here's part of the bad mojo about Larry Smith. Is Larry Smith, he sent to the Redskins. I didn't think he was a big hit for the Rams anyway, so that was bad. 8th overall, that's bad. He sent to the Redskins in the following season for a 5th round pick in 1977, and that pick becomes Donnie Hickman. He was a lineman at USC. Hickman hangs around the Rams for a year. In July of 78, Hickman is included in a deal to bring Eddie Brown to the Rams. And of course, Eddie Brown blows the coverage on John Stallworth in the 4th quarter of Super Bowl 14. And again, who's the key component here is George Allen drafted Larry Smith, right? Larry Smith gets traded to George Allen. And then George Allen ends up sending Eddie Brown. I'm sorry. George Allen had come back to the Rams and traded that draft pick the Rams got for Larry Smith to the Redskins to acquire Eddie Brown. He gets fired. Allen gets fired 2 games into the preseason. And then John Stallworth, of course, is the guy that Eddie Brown blows coverage on in Super Bowl 14. Pretty interesting stuff when you look at some of that history. I'll probably have to double check some of those dates there, but pretty amazing. Let's see here. On this date in 1995, Rams released kicker Tony Zendejas after 4 seasons. I feel kind of bad. I've never been to Zendejas out in San Dimas. And then Rams also signed on this date in 1997, former Detroit cornerback, former Miami University cornerback. He was a second-round pick in 93, Ryan McNeil. McNeil intercepts nine passes for the Rams in 97. 9 passes, and then has a pick 6. In 98, he only intercepts 1 pass, but it's also a pick 6. And then he leaves to the Browns the year the Rams go to the Super Bowl. In all, he played 11 years and had a nice career, 31 picks, and has been a good post-career. Also, let's see, on this date in 1990, the Rams born on this date in 1990, the Rams running back Benny Cunningham, Middle Tennessee State, undrafted free agent, gave the Rams 4 solid years, special teams, caught 93 passes. He's not related to the Benny Cunningham that played for the Steelers. July 8th, Rams acquire Pittsburgh linebacker Myron Patios. He's a George Allen guy. He later goes to Washington in the Ramskins trade in 71. 1975, on July the 8th, the Rams signed Ron Jesse as a free agent. That leads to a whole set of drama there with Cullen Bryant and challenging the league. July the 8th, 1982, Vince Ferragamo returns from Canada and signs with the Rams. All right. And then the only birthday I want to acknowledge on July the 8th is Billy Jenkins. He was a strong safety, undrafted free agent out of Howard. He started for the Rams in 98 and 99 and on the Super Bowl team. Later, he went to Denver and was pretty much done by 2002, but good to remember Billy Jenkins and what the Rams gave him. And then quick mention here, I've mentioned this guy quite a bit. In 2012, on July 8th, John Williams died at the age of 66. He had been a first-round, 23rd overall pick of the Colts. After 4 seasons with the Colts, 2 Super Bowl appearances, Williams was traded to the Rams in 72. He only started 1 game that year, but from 73 through 78, he started every game at right tackle for the team, appeared in 11, starting 7 in 1979 before Jackie Slater took over. Torn calf muscle derailed his season, didn't get a chance to play in the Super Bowl. Great man, became a dentist, heard a lot of great things about him. The cost to acquire Williams was a first-round pick, and that first-round pick was used by the Colts to draft a wide receiver named Roger Carr, who had a really nice career at the Colts. In fact, Roger Carr in 1976 caught 43 passes, which if you caught over 40 passes in the 70s, that meant you had a good year. But he caught 43 passes for 1,129 yards, 11 touchdowns, and a 25.9 yard per catch average. Unbelievable. Just wanted to get that out there. Now, Williams was kind of just the underrated guy. He wasn't Schiavelli. He wasn't Mack. He wasn't Hara. He wasn't France. He wasn't Charlie Cowan. He's kind of forgotten a little bit like Irv Pankey as the left tackle in the 80s for the Rams. Long, productive careers, very underrated. All right, let's see what we got here. Mr. Powers, Rams are counting on the offense to carry this team. Shula will keep the defense going with youth. Glad Ramsey didn't sign. And Watt is intriguing, but too much. No, I wouldn't want Watt at all. What I love about hey, can I ask you guys, what's the crown #1 thing mean? Crown #2. What does that mean with the crown there? I don't know what that means. Help me with that. Let's see. Yeah, the Watt thing, I would never have done it. I want to get the best years out of Byron Young. If we have to lose him to free agency, we lose him to free agency, but I don't want to be hampered by TJ Watt's contract. There's always a little nagging thing here and there with TJ Watt, right? Great player, but there's always a nagging thing. So I wouldn't have done it. And Chris Shula, there's a guy, if you could go back and watch some of the shows last year, I remember weeks 1, 2, and 3, people were screaming for Chris Shula's head. They didn't like Chris Shula, and we were arguing that the young defense had to mature. Kobe Turner and Byron Young were in their second year. Jared Verse and Braden Fisk were in their first year. Think about all the tackles they missed at the first half of the season or the tackles they were making in the back half of the season. I like Shula. My fear for Shula is that the temptation to bolt and get a head coaching job is going to be too much to hold back on. This is a guy that's grinded all the way through, and I don't think he's traded on his name. He's been with the Rams a long time, and it took a long time for him to get the DC job. I do like him. Willie Bowen, LA Rams will dominate the NFC West. I think they'll dominate, but I don't think they'll be easy wins. Right? Could they go 6-0? Yeah. I can see them going 4-2. I don't think the Cardinals are going to be a pushover. I think depending on the health of the 49ers and any one of the games the Rams play them, that game will be hard. Rams will win, should win, but those games will be hard. And then, of course, the Seahawks, they're going to be motivated as well. I think they've got some, them and the 49ers, they don't scare me as much. If the Rams are on their game, it shouldn't be an issue. But you never know. A rivalry opponent could steal one. Cardinals, they do scare me a little bit. They do, because they play hard. They keep playing hard. Let's see here. Willie Bowen, LaFraud drains his trash and diarrhea for the Lakers. Man, tell me how you feel, Willie. Willie Bowen, Fred Dreyer's birthday was yesterday. Yes, it was, and I wasn't on the air, man. Sorry. I should have got it there for Hunter. Tim Burns, I agree with Tim Powers. Tim Powers, Allen's revenge, Mr. Brown. Allen's revenge. Yes, I believe Mr. Powers was also at that game, that playoff game between the Rams and Skins in '74, where a George Allen acolyte was sitting in the stadium and yelling Allen's revenge, and then left the stadium to a hail of popcorn and peanuts being thrown his way after Isaiah Robertson took Billy Kilmer's pass 59 yards to pay dirt. Yeah, I remember that. Steve Ramirez, is Shula's Miami's HC is the Dolphins, if the Dolphins have another down year? I think the Dolphins are going to have another down year. I think the Mike McDaniel thing is running out. I do. I think at a certain point, you got to get over the top, and they just can't do it. I don't think Tua as a player is not a bust. Tua, drafted as high as he is, and a good man, all that stuff. But I just don't think so. Now, would Shula go there? If Shula's smart, he wouldn't go there, right? He wouldn't go there because they're not going to ask him questions about his defense, or they're going to say, how does it feel coaching where your grandfather coached and all that kind of stuff. I would hope for his sake he wouldn't go there. My hope is they find some Native American blood in him and we get 2 draft picks or something because, that's what I want. Let's see. Tim Burns, I am cool with my secondary. We are deeper, and I would rather spend money elsewhere. Absolutely. Tim Burns, an announcer said, Air Bronny. I heard something about that. I didn't click on. Tim Powers, Red News clip that Dolak is impressive. Let's hope he's not a mirage. Well, there's so many things there. Pooh Paul is another guy they're talking about. Nate Landman, right? Spates is going to be better. And if all those guys stay on the track that people are projecting them to be on, one, Troy Reeder will be unemployed and join the coaching staff. But the other thing is what was deemed as a position of absolute weakness by the Rams suddenly becomes a position of maybe not super strength, but it's not a liability, right? It's not a liability. So I am excited about that. Willie Bowen, Bronny is 0-0. That means he has 0. Okay. All right. I think I got most of everything I wanted to get out. I just appreciate you guys showing up on a slow Monday afternoon. Let's see here. Oh, the Nick Herberg thing. Okay. All right. Here we go. Now you guys are taking advantage of me because you know about my day job. I didn't read anything. I just saw the post on there's always somebody that they take the player and they put them on a digital graphic there where there's a pride rainbow thing behind him and everything. I'll mention it 3 ways. This starts in the education system. It does. That's where it starts. I know this firsthand through some family connections. The pressure and everything. If you have any kind of doubt, any doubts, right? Any kind of lostness, any kind of like, who am I, where am I going type stuff, you must be gay. You think that sounds like outrageous hyperbole, but I'm telling you, it's true. Okay. And so that pressure builds. The second one is they also nail these guys like saying, you're going to be a hero. You're going to be a star. You're going to be courage, Yeah. And some jackwagon organization like ESPN might give you an Arthur Ashe Courage Award. Like, I think they gave it to Michael Sam, right? And he did so much. But they're going to tell you you're going to be a hero, right? And then the third part they seem to have forgotten is that they've overplayed their hand. Now, I'm not bagging on Nick Herbig, but they've overplayed their hand because I'm telling you, the activists and everything behind this, they're generally Marxists. They don't care. They really don't care. You're just a useful tool. And they will drop Nick Herbig just like that. Just like they moved on to Palestine, Occupy Wall Street. There'll be another one. They don't care about Nick Herbig, right? So my encouragement, if I could take my pastor hat, don't bag on the kid, pray for the kid. But the question came to me. I didn't lead with it, but those kids are under immense pressure, and there's always some devil, and I mean this in a more of a physical sense, some person out there ready to pounce and say, maybe you probably are. And then they encourage them to come out. No one cares anymore. They just don't care. Someone comes out and says they're this or they're that. It's like, yeah, whatever. Who cares? Who's playing center for the Lakers next year, right? Can Bo Limmer beat out Coleman Shelton? Nobody cares. And it's all done to create shock. And once that wears off, those monsters that force these young people to go through that, they abandon them. It's true. I know it. It's part of my day job. So I hope the best for Nick Herbig, right? And you all should as well. All right, let's see. I pray that the Rams' new uniforms will resemble their 1973 uniforms. I hope so too. Nothing wrong with those uniforms, right? But I don't know who makes those calls. Probably somebody that wasn't around until probably 2003 is going to make those calls. So, guys, I'm going to drop in here the link to our Sign Up Genius. And that's a link to, we cover at the Outsiders camps. We're there for 90 hours. And so we cover it all in prayer. And if you're so inclined, please click on that link, and I'll drop it in again later. Click on that link and take a prayer slot. We have 90 hours to cover. So we break each hour into 4 15-minute slots. So there's 360 slots to fill. And if you're on the East Coast, would really appreciate it if you would take a slot that's 7 a.m. your time, but 4 a.m. our time. Because if those slots aren't covered between 2 and 5, you're looking at the guy that has to get up and fill them. But we make sure they're covered for the Outsiders camps. All right. Support Kistler Law because they support Outsiders camps as well. All right. That's the end of my commercial. I think we got in what we wanted to get in. I'm happy to be back. Thanks for your patience. My wife's getting her car back this week, and we'll go from there. All right. Mr. Powers, Mr. Burns, Bowen, ESG, Bill, all you guys, everyone else who clicks on later, thanks a lot. We will talk to you on Wednesday.